William and Anna McGill, written by their granddaughter, Vernette McGill here, age 87. My paternal grandparents were William and Anna McGill. My grandpa was born in Wisconsin in 1868. His father was born in Ireland and his mother in Canada. He had one brother, Tom McGill, who lived many years in Whitewater and worked as a custodian at the old Whitewater College. Grandma was born in the state of New York in 1872. Both of her parents were born in Switzerland. She had 3 sisters and 1 brother. Her maiden name was Rashley. Her brother Frank lived many years in Eagle. My grandparents met and were married in 1892. They lived in Whitewater for a couple of years where my grandpa worked as a barber. They moved to Eagle in 1898. He owned a barber shop on Main Street. The barber shop was in the front and living quarters were in the back and upstairs. My dad, Virgil, was born in February of 1899. He started working in the barber shop as an apprentice when he was 15 years old. My grandpa McGill passed away in January of 1929. This was just 2 weeks before I was born. He was 61 years old and he died of cancer. I'm sure he would have been a great grandpa. I never had the privilege to spend time with him. In a few months, my grandma sold the shop and moved to Palmyra to be closer to my dad and mom. When my parents went out for an evening, I would spend the night at Grandma's. We always played cards, and she would let me play the old Victrola. Sometimes I even played on her beautiful rosewood piano. Grandma was a great cook. She always planned something special for our dinner. Her cookie jar was never empty. My grandma lived with us for a few years. She passed away in 1960 at age 88. Virgil and Millie McGill both went to Eagle School and were backyard sweethearts. They dated for almost 3 years and were married in North Prairie on October 5, 1919. Their big honeymoon was a weekend in Janesville to visit my dad's uncle and aunt. My dad loved to hunt and fish. He always tied all of his flies for trout fishing. His favorite trout fishing was done on weekends in Wild Rose, Wisconsin. He also loved to play cards. There was always a Monday night card game at the barber shop. The same fellows played cards there for many, many years. Win or lose, they never missed a Monday night game. My dad opened his own barber shop in Palmyra on Main Street in the Tisch House building. He opened the shop on April 16, 1919, at the age of 20. My mom was a great stay-at-home mom. She loved to cook and made a great hickory nut cake. When Mom made a chocolate pie with real whipped cream, it was a dream come true. My dad and Mom both loved animals. We always had a dog and cat, and we also had all the strays that would end up at our house until we could find good homes for them. When I was a little girl, we always went to Sasso's in Eagle for Sunday night dinner. Ma Sasso would let me sit on a stool in her kitchen, and I would watch her make our dinner. Her fried chicken and her spaghetti were really special. We always had delicious meals that came out of her kitchen. I always had a little stuffed kitten with me, and Mike Sasso, who was a little older, would steal the kitten and hide it from me. His dad, Louis, would always make him give it back to me before we went home. What wonderful memories I have of Eagle. Dad and Mom had so many friends who lived in the Eagle area, also being able to see my grandparents so often. I, Vernette McGill, was born on February 1st, 1929. I was born the same year as the Great Depression. Dad said it was a great year to have a new baby daughter, but a bad year to lose money in the stock market when it went so low. I had to be the boy my dad never had. I went fishing and hunting with him. He was so proud when I caught my first trout. When he would bring home a duck or pheasant, I knew it would be our next day's dinner. I was so lucky to always have fresh fish and fowl. As the years went by, I gave up the hunting and fishing for high school friends and football and basketball games. While I was in high school, I worked as a waitress at Wayne's restaurant. It was great because all the gang spent hours there. I'm so happy that I grew up in a small town where you knew everyone. After graduation, I went to work for Dr. Natardi, a dentist, as his assistant. This was a very interesting job. Dr. Natardi was one of the first dentists to do immediate dentures in Wisconsin. In 1949, I married a high school classmate, Harold Jones. We had 2 lovely daughters, Ginger and Barbara. After my husband had polio in 1953, I took the job as treasurer of the village of Palmyra. The next year I went to work at the Palmyra State Bank as a teller and bookkeeper. I was the village treasurer for 23 years, and I worked at the Palmyra State Bank for almost 40 years. I retired in 1992 as an executive vice president. What a great career! I had the opportunity to work with and to meet such wonderful people. On October 27, 1980, my dad was out hunting and he had a heart attack and passed away that night. We all lost a very special person when he died. My dad and mom were married for 61 years. After his death, she just gave up. She had no will to live without Dad. Mom passed in April 1981 in the Waukesha Hospital. Being an only child, it was difficult to lose both Dad and Mom in less than 6 months. All of my family members are buried in the Eagle Cemetery. My memories and my heart will always be in Eagle, Wisconsin.